everyone, this is Mr. Reese. I just wanted to start off with a nice introduction kind of lecture, just going over the motives of European imperialism, which is going to be our small little unit that we are going to talk about. So with that being said, let's get started. So when it comes to the motives for European imperialism, by the way, we will be talking about this word imperialism. We're going to try and answer one question. That is, what were the various motives for European expansion in other regions of the world? Alright, so moving on a little bit more, just give you a little bit of contextualization about what imperialism is and how it kind of relates to what we just went over, industrialism, and things that we got on in the past. European nations didn't just stop exploring after the age of exploration, alright? They actually explored and they ended up settling in different areas that had some nice natural resources, alright? These areas that they set up shop in basically is what we call colonies, and there's going to be different types of colonies that we will be differentiating in this whole entire deal. Alright, moving on a little bit more. These colonies were, very, very good for the European countries that ended up settling there because they were rich of different resources and they wanted to extract those resources. And they wanted to use those resources to gain their, economic benefits. Alright, and so this leads to something called the Age of Imperialism. Alright, so European imperialism, what is it and what does it have to deal with? So basically what imperialism is the idea of other countries kind of taking over other areas of the world to extract their resources, and for those countries that took them over to have some economic, political, and other types of gains. Alright, so one thing that we can kind of compare it to make it a little bit easier to understand, we can actually compare it to Pokemon of all things. Alright, so when it comes to this, what does Pokemon and European imperialism just have in common? Alright, so in Pokemon, we have different types of Pokemons that we want to capture because they're going to be good for us in the long run because we want to be, the best Pokemon master that we can. Alright, so we're actually going to identify those Pokemon that are going to be really awesome for us, and we are going to try and capture them. Now, when we sit there and capture them, we are going to sit there and actually, take them and put them under our wings. This is what I mean by the colonies and set up there. And then finally, we do end up using those Pokemon for us in battle and in the game. We'll use this for imperialism when we talk about it. When it comes to extracting those resources or utilizing those soldiers from the imperialistic age. Now moving on a little bit further, just to give you kind of an idea of how this imperialism works, all these areas that we see are going to be imperialistic countries taking over different areas of the world, and as we see this throughout history. So this goes all the way to 2008 where decolonization has, but it starts off in 1492, goes through the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, all the way to the 20th century when it hits 1914, and we have a bunch of countries, or a bunch of areas that the European colonies have taken over. Alright, so moving on a little bit more, so there's actually 3 reasons why Europeans wanted to imperialize. They are economic, political, and all religious, and we're actually going to spend a little bit of time on these, utilizing this nice little graphic organizer that you guys obviously have in front of you that is kind of attached to this video. Alright, so when it comes to this, what you're going to end up doing is that you're going to be taking the time to actually take down notes for the economic motives, the political, and the religious motives, and also the effects for each motive. Alright, you're also going to have to find an image for each. Alright, you're going to see an image on this presentation that you can obviously utilize in that part where it asks for the images. Alright, but hopefully that you guys understand that. So with that being said, we are going to start off with the economic motives. And you have actually seen this image before. I used this earlier. This is one of the more famous images that we see. Alright, so when it comes to the economic motives, alright, the Industrial Revolution definitely created a need for other markets to be able to sell these goods. All right, we don't just want to sell in our own country. We want to sell in other countries. All right, and the thing is, like, not every other country was, so well off with, coal and iron. They had to go to other areas of the world to actually find said resources. All right. On top of that, we see traditional industries being displaced, aka we're seeing the industries from all these different European countries going overseas to all these different places and actually setting up shop there to make, money. And then finally, we have a company that we are actually going to see a whole lot of. And you guys actually may have known it because of the Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's called the East India Company. I also will refer to it as the EIC. All right, they are going to come to dominate trade throughout all of the world. All right, and this image that we see here is England. All right, kind of taking over all these different places of the world because they were very, very, they were very much wanting to be more economic. All right, and gain that profit and different things along those lines. Now, you may be wondering what the effects are of this. All right, so some of the effects that we see is that European goods actually go across the whole entire world in both positive and negative ways. Positive being railroads, and the negative being opium, which is going to be a drug that the British are actually going to spend time getting the Chinese addicted to. And we will go more into that on Friday when we get there, or if this is later on in a couple of days. All right. So moving on, we have also political motives that we see as well. All right, so nationalism, or the idea that you have extreme pride in one's country, is very rampant amongst the European nations. All right, and so it kind of became this competition to see how many different colonies that they could actually get. On top of that, many European nations wanted to show off their power and prestige when it comes to all the different areas that they own. Okay, and they're really going to want to kind of make this empire when it comes to imperialism. So the famous phrase that comes out after Britain, takes over pretty much all of the different areas of the world, they say the sun never sets on the British Empire. And as you can see, this is a Canadian postage stamp, and all the places in red are all the places that Great Britain can actually go to. All right, because they own that area. They imperialize those areas. All right, so this is Great Britain right here. But we see places in Canada, Australia, and East Asia. A bunch of different islands over here, along with Africa and India. All right, now you may be wondering what the effects are then. So the effects are that Europeans kind of conflict over different areas of the world, including what we're going to call the Boer War in Africa and also the 7 Years' War, which we have actually already talked about a little bit. So we do see some political motives on top of that. Now, the last thing that we are going to spend a little bit of time on when it comes to motives is the religious motives. And you can kind of see what's going to end up being alluded to in this section. Now, Christian missionaries wanted to convert people to Christianity. So in the Age of Exploration, we talked about the idea of, gold, glory, and God, like spreading the word of Christianity. All right, this is taking that up and kind of ramping it up a little bit. And so these Christian missionaries are going to try and quote unquote, not my words, I want to make that very clear, civilize different areas such as Africa, Asia, and the Americas, specifically like South America and Central America. And as we can see, we see some Christian missionaries helping these children civilize, which is going to, be very contradictory of what these people are, and they are civilized, they just are not Europeans. And what I mean by that is that they don't fit into the norms of Europe. All right, they fit in the norms of Africa or Asia or the Americas or wherever they are from. All right, that's their idea of civilized in that sense. All right, and so there's going to be a nice little philosophy that most European countries are going to take of, and that is the idea of the white man's burden. All right, and it's the idea that Westerners have a responsibility to help these people in different areas. Okay, now you may be wondering what the effects are, but the one that we see mostly is that there are attempts to eventually end slavery, which is going to, or I shouldn't say slavery, the slave trade. And this actually occurs in the early 1800s in different areas of, different European countries and things along those lines. All right, so those are the three different motives. Now, moving on to this idea of imperialism, there is a second slide to this, and that is the different forms or different types of imperialism or imperialistic ways of doing things. So there's going to be three that you are going to have to know about: colonies, protectorates, and spheres of influence. All right, so what you're going to end up doing is that you're going to end up writing the definition of this, examples of this that you will see, why they had this form of colony or form of imperialism, and any sort of negative effects that we see. All right, now if you go to this link right here, it's going to take you to a website that's going to really benefit you guys for each of these. All right, so that being said, I am done. I hope this video was very informative and it helped you out, not only with this assignment, but the idea of imperialism. Tomorrow we're going to be taking a little bit of time talking about more stuff when it comes to imperialism. If you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.